Can you build a life like you build a business? Can you transform a person like you can transform a brand? It's a question that I asked myself a few years ago now. Can you really approach life with the same mindset and strategies that we approach work? Because it didn't make sense to me why all of those strategies and systems that we use to build great businesses, successful businesses, couldn't be applied to ourselves. It didn't make sense to me. So I thought I would use my own life as a case study. If you've seen some of my other videos, you would have heard the story that I've told many times about how I thought I'd checked off every single box in my life. I was achieving everything that I was supposed to achieve. The job, the house, the family, everything was done. But I didn't feel right. Something was missing. I was in danger of going to a very dark place. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to redesign my life. I wanted to create the life that I wanted to live and not the life that everyone else was telling me or had been telling me all my life that you should live. So when I sat down and thought, where am I going to start? Naturally, I went back to my first instinct, and that was what I did in my work. So if you haven't met me before, hi, my name's Damien. And in these videos, I talk about how I help people and how I help myself to redesign my life and this whole process and journey that I'm going through to create the life that I want to live. And how I'm hopeful that it can help you in some way to redesign your life and to feel a little bit more in charge and in control of your life, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who should be dictating how your life is. And yet, sadly, the case is that all too often, society and so many other people and things now, machines, algorithms, control our life for us. So that's what my videos are about, and I'm hoping that you're finding them helpful or useful, because I know these lessons have helped me to get to where I am today, and I'm by no means a finished product. I'm so far away from it, if I'm honest. But I've taken these active steps, and I've noticed small changes. Small moments of connection, small moments of meaning. So I know that this works. And when I set out at the start of my journey to redesign my life, I thought, can I use my work techniques? When I would work with brands to transform them, I had a very set system that I would go through and a process. And I thought, well, look, just try it. Try those techniques, try those mindsets and see if they work. And they have. It makes sense because they're based on psychology. They're based on fundamental truths about how we are as humans, how we act, how we interact. So I've gone through and I've tweaked my systems and tweaked my strategies to now apply to people. And that's what I love to work with people on and love to help people to realize and utilize in their own life. Anything I can do to give you even just 1% slightly more connection or slightly more presence, or just to see things differently or just feel life differently, is incredibly worthwhile to me. So what I want to share with you in this video today is 3 of these techniques that I've used time and time again on businesses and brands that could help you. Now, this is not about building a personal brand. It's not about creating an online persona or building a brand new. This is about designing a life that matters to you. So these 3 techniques, frame them in that mindset, frame them with that sort of view. This is about helping you live a more connected and more present life, the life that you want to live. The first thing that I always look at doing is applying the concept of a compass, not a map. Now, I'm sure if you've seen some of my other videos, you would have heard me talk about this before. All the time, when I would meet leaders, they would be wanting a map. And maps are fine in certain circumstances, but most of the time, the problem with a map is that it gives you the easiest path. It gives you a path that's being defined by other people. It shows you a direct path, and it can cause all sorts of problems when we try and force everyone down this path. And it's the same thing with our lives. If we try and force ourselves down a path that someone else has set for us, it can be really hard to live that way. Because it wasn't designed for us. It wasn't forged by us. And maybe the destinations that we're moving towards on that journey, on that map, aren't ones that we want to move towards. But what's worse is that it ends up narrowing your view. On the business side, if you want business growth or you want innovation or new development or new ideas, you can't force people to go down a path, because if you're walking down the path, then there's not going to be anything new on that path necessarily. There's not going to be anything that other people haven't seen. So you need to adopt this explorer mindset. You need to go through life with the compass, because the compass points a direction so you can always know where you are. You can always generally know the direction that you should be moving towards. But it gives you this empowerment to go left or right or backwards or however you feel you need to go. So if you're like an explorer and you're lost in the jungle and you know you've got to go north, but right now east looks like the best path, the easiest path to get round a mountain or over an obstacle, then you can go east. And you never know, when you're going in that direction, you might discover the lost city or the treasure or whatever it is that you're looking for. But you wouldn't have found that if you just kept blazing straight ahead, if you just keep following that path. So I want you to give yourself this permission. You know you. You know your life. You know what you need. So allow yourself to move in the direction that you feel like you need. I'll leave a link in the description below to my compass test. It's sort of like the Myers-Briggs test. You are asked a series of questions that helps you to plot out a compass output that can help you give some direction on the very next step you need to take. Where do you need to go next for you? What areas might you have been missing? I remember a workshop I was giving once, and a woman came up to me afterwards and she said, I feel like I need to go and to help my children and to move into this direction where I need to be there for my kids. But I feel like I have to do my work, or I have to be moving in this direction and do too much work. And I asked her why there was that fight, because everything in her body, everything in her mind, everything she knew was telling her that she had to go towards her family. And yet she wasn't. And so she was struggling. She had stress and anxiety, and all of these other things were starting to pile up. And this is common. This is really common. And so I asked her, like, which direction do you want to go in? We'd done the exercise. She charted out the course, and she said, I need to go with my family. Then go. Give yourself that permission. It's not about quitting your job. It's not about just forgetting about work altogether. It's about prioritizing your now, prioritizing where you're going next. Understanding that if you neglect that area for much longer, it's going to become a bigger problem that's going to impact other areas of your life. So become an explorer in your life. This world is a wonderful place. There's so many amazing things out there that we can experience and learn from and see. But we miss all of it. We miss so much that's right in front of us. We're never aware, we're never present, because we're always just locked onto autopilot, locked onto this map. So break free and start to live like an explorer would. Follow the compass, follow what you know you need to do next. What's right for you? The second thing is a mantra about being first, different, or unique. This is something I learned from a great marketer called Jean-Claude Bivet. It's his philosophy, and he's deployed it to great effect so many times over the years. And every time I've used it since I started to develop it, it's been successful. Because when we do things that are first, different, or unique, we surprise people, we surprise ourselves. And surprise is such an important function. It's such an important mental state that we don't utilize enough. When you are surprised, so many things happen in your brain. Neurologically, it makes you present, which is actually a defense mechanism. So you go to step out on a road and a car almost hits you, it makes you present to protect you, so you can deal with the threat. But you can hack this, you can use this in your life. This surprise helps to make you present. And when you're present, you remember things. It stores it in a different portion of your brain. Again, defense mechanism, so you can remember it later. As a child, you might go to touch an oven and it's hot. You almost burn yourself, so you don't do it again. You remember not to do it again. And then from there, it releases adrenaline and endorphins to help change how you feel, to help you with that fight or flight methodology. But that changes physiologically how you feel. It shifts it in you. So by activating this surprise reflex, you make yourself present, you change physiologically how you feel. And then you see things more differently because you're present, because you're more aware. I call it the experience arc. It's like a character arc in a journey, in a story. By making yourself present, you open yourself up to new discoveries, new adventures, new experiences that then allow you to create meaning, that will then allow you to create new things, new awareness, new ways of seeing. And yet, if we never push ourselves to be first, different, unique in anything that we do, and whether that's experiences or challenges, or even just the fact of making the decision to redesign your life, which is something that you might never have done before. It is a first. There are going to be new things, things that challenge you, things that surprise you, that force your brain to do things in new ways. It will start to have this physiologically change on you. The more you make yourself present, the more connected you are, the more able you are to see and then to make meaning and to identify where you want to be and where you want to go. This step about first, different, unique is linked quite closely with the compass. That's why my two systems, the experience arc and the experience compass, work so well together. How do you connect? How do you surprise people? How do you surprise yourself? And you surprise yourself by challenging yourself. You surprise yourself by being that explorer and being open. So don't just dismiss things because they're new, because they're different. Challenge yourself. Know that if you do this, if you always stay open to seeing things and experiencing these new things, you can change your life, quite literally. And the last thing is around not necessarily relying on logic. I'd see it so many times in my work life where people would overcompensate on logic. They'd use spreadsheets and plans and business cases to back up a decision, when in reality, all they were doing was putting in place an excuse for why something failed when it eventually failed, or when it didn't work to the way that we expected it to work, hedging their bets, and then therefore they weren't all in to start with. And you can't live like that. If you always try and second guess everything, if you always try and run it through logic and reason, you need to be very aware of the fact of what you're doing. And are you just making an excuse for yourself? Are you just compensating because you don't want to do something, because you're scared, because it's different, because it's first, because it's different, because it's unique? And sometimes we use this concept of logic and we're going, well, this is the logical thing not to do. But sometimes you just have to trust what you feel. Sometimes you have to trust what you know. This happens in strategy, but it particularly happens with your life. It's so much more important. If you have that gut instinct, if you have that feel that something needs to change, then something needs to change. Listen to it. Don't excuse it away. And I find often we use excuses like busyness or work or other things to hide from what we really need to be doing, to hide from what we really need to be feeling. That's using logic, but it's not really logic. We give ourselves this valid, logical excuse as to why we're not addressing the feelings that we need to be addressing. So I don't want you to be doing that. And I know that this is a really hard thing to do, and it's obviously hard in the business world and it's hard in your own life. I know it is. I still struggle with it. I catch myself all the time making logical excuses why I shouldn't do something. But as long as you're aware of this, and as long as you're aware of the concept of these excuses, then you can start to address it. You can start to stop yourself and challenge yourself. No, I'm not going to be like that. You can't be like an explorer. You can't do things that are new and different if you're going to constantly second guess yourself, if you're going to constantly put in place excuses as to why you can't. So sometimes logic can be helpful, but sometimes it can actually be an excuse. So ask yourself, what is it in this circumstance? And really listen to the answer. And if you feel something, if you feel like you've got to move in a certain direction, if you feel like you've got to try something or build something or do whatever it is, then do it. Try your hardest to do it, because I'd much rather you have the regret of what you've missed out because you've done that than to have the regret of not having done it. Because I promise you, those logic excuses aren't going to look so powerful in 5 or 6 years' time when you haven't done it. And this isn't easy. I know it's not easy. But just know that the hard work will be worth it. That you will look back on this with a memory, a fond memory, of how that challenge reshaped you, how it helped to move you along on this new journey, and how you didn't hold yourself back with these silly excuses. I'm hopeful that these tips have been helpful in reshaping how you see the world. These techniques have worked for me time and time again in the business world, and I've seen them with myself and with other people that I've worked with, working on them. I know that this works because it's based on human behavior, it's based on psychology. But I know that it also is based on the fact that you have to trust yourself. You have to believe that it will be okay, because it will. As soon as you become an active player in your life, things will be okay. Things will get better. No matter where you're starting from, it's never too late. You can make a difference. But you have to trust that feeling inside you that's telling you, maybe even screaming at you, to make the change. I know I didn't listen to that voice for so long, and I regret that now. But I'm not letting that hold me back. Every day is hard. Every day is a difficult challenge to move forward, to redesign our lives. Because like I've said, the world is designed to work against us. We can use algorithms and systems and technology and everything to make it easier, to make us not have to think, to make us not present, but become present again and make that active change. Redesign your life starting today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me today. I hope this has been helpful. If it has, leave a like, a comment down below, and I'll see you again in the next video.